Hello.
Hello, how's it going, Tony?
It's going awesome, Ellen. Cheers.
Cheers. What are you drinking over there?
In the spirit of isolationism, a lonely blonde.
Lonely brunette over there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What are you
so
drinking?
I'm drinking Bent Paddle from Duluth. The cold pressed black, has a coffee-ish vibe. So I'm kind
Oh,
of
nice.
mixing because I've been coffeeing all day, but now I'm transitioning to the happy hour portion of my day.
Awesome. Oh, hey, Ann. I see Ann and Jima there. Hey, Ann. Cheers.
Hey,
If
nice to see you.
yeah, if there's anybody online that is having a beverage, you could put your emoji that best represents your beverage, coffee, beer, anything like that. Go ahead and put that in the comments. Our hope is, that this can be a place we can clink our glasses and forget about this week.
Yeah, hasn't it felt like the longest week ever? I think so.
Yeah. Yep. This really has been, but we made it, everybody. So for all those
Yes.
here, cheers to you and welcome to our very first episode here of the back catalog listening party. Um, my name is Anthony Ihrig.
I'm Mother Banjo, and we're going to be your hosts every Friday at 4 p.m. Central for this back catalog uh, listening party. And the idea is that we're going to just talk about music, listen to it, dig into the songs that maybe we haven't heard in a while, and talk with different guest artists. But today on the show, because we're kind of testing things out and we want to make sure we know what we're doing before we invite, our favorite artists to join us, we're going to be talking about each other's songs today. So we're going to be digging into Anthony's 2011 release, Missing Ghosts, and then my 2019 release, Eyes in the Sky. So we're going to talk about that. We hope folks will, give comments and questions as we go, and we'll try and answer them. Hi,
Yeah.
Mike. Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers to
Um,
that. Can I ask the those out there listening, like, can this is our first time doing this, so just from a technical perspective, can you hear us? Can you see us all right? Everything working on your end? Give
we
us a
can't
thumbs up or
we can't help you if you don't have beverages. That's on
a
your end. So today, the every episode we are. I don't know what the
I think
tears
that's
mean.
water. No, I think that's
Oh,
water.
water. Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
water. Yeah,
Um,
good for you, Ann. That's
yeah,
good for you.
hydration is important. Thank you, Mike. Sounds good and looks good. Okay. So every episode, we're going to, in an effort to help artists and some of our local nonprofits that are struggling during this time of Corona, we are going to be, instead of having tips or donations to us, we want to have them go to other artists and worthy causes. So today we're going to ask if you like what you hear to throw a donation towards Springboard for the Arts Emergency Artist Relief Fund. So it's an easy way for Minnesota artists of all kinds, not just musicians, but any performing artists to get a little money back if they had canceled work that they weren't able to fulfill. So how you can support that is by going to tinyurl.com/Minnesota or MN Artist Relief. We wanted to give you an easy URL to find. So it's also scrolling at the bottom of the screen.
Should be in the description as well now.
Yeah. So if you like what you hear, please throw a donation their way. Or even if you don't like what you hear, you should donate to them.
Yeah, don't punish all those artists on our account.
Yeah, exactly.
And like Ellen said, just to reiterate, right now is really tough for artists. All of my friends who play music are freaking out and trying to come up with ways to make this work. And you can only do so many live concerts throughout the week. And so I thought, Ellen and I talked about it and thought this could be another platform for you guys to interact with and financially compensate if so appropriate with your favorite bands and artists.
Yeah, for sure. So, and thank you guys for saying hi and logging in. And again, keep the comments and questions coming. We're hoping to, as we dig into some of these songs, if you have questions about something we said or something we didn't say, feel free to post them there and we'll try and get to as many of them as we can as we go.
Yeah. Hi, Gary.
Yeah. Hi, Gary. Anthony, do we want to dig into your record?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Let's do it. It's been a minute, as the kids say. Since this record came out, I was looking through, I had to dig deep. A lot of what I do, just so for folks who are tuning in, maybe that that don't know me, most of my musical output these days is in the form of bluegrass banjo. I play in a band called the High 48s, bluegrass band, and I've been doing that for 12 years now. But I've always had, my own original stuff that doesn't quite fit into the bluegrass category. And in 2011, just right on the verge of having my first child, I thought it was time I better get an album out of original material. So I assembled a team of my best friends and put together a record and put it out.
And I have to say, this is actually one of my, I mean, you've participated in so many great records, the High 48s and with other bands you've been in, but I love this record so much. It's one of my favorites, and I go back to it all the time. And one of the things that I've always wondered about when you were assembling the team for this record,
Yeah.
in addition to playing banjo, which most people know, you also, you play guitar and other stringed instruments, also drums, which not everyone knows. So it's always interesting talking to people who've been often side people and are known for being instrumentalists, and then they might be taking the lead on their own songwriting project, and they have to then find other band members to play those instruments maybe they would normally. So were you particularly picky about like what drummer and what guitarist and all that stuff?
Oh, that's funny you should say that, because I ended up playing the drums and the guitar.
So you were
On the
picky.
record.
You were like,
Yeah.
I gotta do this myself.
Yeah, well, I was trying to save money. There's a few instruments that I played over the years that I could kind of they weren't going to be featured necessarily, like a little snare drum, some dobro, and some guitar, rhythm guitar, and so I just laid those tracks myself. But I brought together a team. I'm going to see if this works, folks. I'm going to try to bring in a picture here of the crew that I was working with. There they are.
So young. So
Yeah,
young.
I know, right? So this is we recorded the album at Wild Sound Studio,
I
Minneapolis.
love that studio. It's great.
With Mr. Matthew Zimmerman. It was such a great experience. And here assembled, we have Dan Christensen on the bass, and Eric Christopher, my bandmate in the High 48s, was on the fiddle, excuse me. And we had Jed German over here, luthier to the stars, but also an incredible fiddle mandolin player and pedal steel as well. So I actually roped him into doing some pedal steel work on the record.
That's awesome. So let's talk about the title track of your record, Missing Ghosts.
Yeah.
And why was this the title track? Did this song kind of sum up the record in some way, or?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it was kind of a time in my life, a transitional time, and it was time to kind of purge all those kind of songwriting demons from relationships past, so to speak. And yeah, right, songwriters with demons. But it was kind of a twist on that idea, just because when you think about relationships in the past, is sad and depressing as they might have been, they still can't touch you. They're still oftentimes less scary than the relationship right in front of you. And this song is kind of from this perspective of someone who's about to enter into a relationship, a real one. And suddenly all those old ghost stories were coming back, but not in the same way. And this is an experience I've had over the years where sometimes I kind of miss that longing feeling of not being loved, or maybe being in a lopsided relationship or something like that, when you can be the star of your own John Cusack movie. That was always my intent. But yeah, so
let's listen to the song, and then if folks have questions or things they are noticing about the song as we listen to it together, because we're all going to listen together in real time, which is something we don't get to do very often anymore, right? Listen to music together. That's the whole point of this series. So let's listen to the song. Again, if you have comments, questions, thoughts about it, definitely post them in the Facebook, live feed in the comments as we go.
Yeah, this is, again, we'd love your feedback at this stage, because what we want to do is play songs, listen to together, and I'll also be curious, make sure you guys can hear all of it, and it sounds good. So this is Missing Ghost, the title track.
miss the rattle moonlit shadows in the dark, pale white fingers reaching out and tearing at my heart. I miss the knocking from that old closet full of bones, piled up like an altar to every lover that I've known. But they all gone away, and I think they've gone to stay. I miss their letters and that pine box under my bed. Every time I read those words, you know I could raise the dead. I miss their company, oh such sweet misery. I thought this time they could not hurt me, no. This time they could never leave me alone. But now you are here and they've all gone, so why am I missing ghosts? I miss the wicked one who had me wrapped in chains, and I miss the kind one I was so desperate to escape. I miss the cool one, she barely spoke to me, and I miss the hot one, she knew just how to make me scream. I miss the lonely songs that they used to sing, dressed up in their long black veils, calling out my name. I miss the tragedy, oh such sweet fantasy. I thought this time they could not hurt me, no. This time they could never leave me alone. But now you are here and they've all gone. You are for real, but for how long? For I fear you won't hang around, and I'll still be missing ghosts.
Oh, yeah. I love that ending, by the way, Tony. It's just great. So if you just tuned into the back catalog listening party, we just listened to Anthony Ihrig's song Missing Ghost, the title track to his 2011 release, and of original songs. And again, we're sort of digging into the music, talking a little bit about it. In future weeks, we're going to be having different guest artists, but today we're going to be talking about digging into each other's recordings a little bit. And by the way, hi, Alan, listening from Dallas. Nice to see you're listening. If you guys have comments or questions about what we're listening to, or questions for either of us, feel free to send them over. Tony, one thing I was realizing as I was listening to that is how much that mandolin riff is really like a key part. It's like the hook, one of the hooks of the song, really.
Yeah.
Did it start with that riff, or?
You know, it's funny is that when I originally did it, it was a whistle. So I was like, and that's how I would do it. I knew that there had to be an instrument playing it. And what's interesting, if you were listening closely, it was mandolin, but also pizzicato violin. Fiddle.
It was doubled, sort of.
Yeah, so they were harmonizing their lines a little bit, and that riff, that was part of it, part of the origins of the song for sure. But that I'll give that to both Jed German and Eric Christopher for taking that whistle and transforming it into
so good
into that.
Yeah, and I also was noticing, you were talking about how, the song was about kind of the ghosts of lovers past or whatever, is as I was listening, those harmonies, which are so awesome in that. And you'll have to remind us who was that. Who else was singing on that?
Yeah, that so I was singing the lead part, and then Dan Christensen, Cowan was singing. Probably I would imagine he was singing the baritone part, and Eric Christopher was singing the tenor part. In that.
Yeah, they sounded really ghostly, it actually, which was kind of cool. It was almost like Eric and Dan were the ghosts of lovers past.
The phrasing of that
Yeah.
it was kind of supposed to be eerie and ghostly, and that's one of the fun things you get to do when you put together your own record, is you can think of it, as a concept. And then once we were in the studio, a lot of that kind of stuff happened while we were recording it, and,
Yeah, how much of it did you record live as you went? Obviously, because you were playing some of several of the instruments, you obviously had to track stuff at different times, but how much of it did you get to play live with the band?
So most of like the rhythm track. So whatever the rhythm track was, I would either be playing guitar or banjo, and then Dan would play bass, Eric on fiddle, and Jed on mandolin. And Wild Sound is one of the nicest studios around, and they have these rooms that have windows and glass doors, so you can actually play in real time and have sight line, and that's a huge deal. It's nice to be able to play in isolation. It's always great to be able to play in a big room, and with the open air and all the instruments bleeding together. But when it's kind of a solo project and it's all up in my head and not in theirs, we needed that isolation so we could go back in and
tweak stuff.
And tweak stuff. But so I would say the core of each song was recorded as a 4-piece live, and we could see each other in the studio, and then everything else just kind of got layered on top of that.
Nice. Again, if you just tuned into back catalog listening party, we are your hosts, Mother Banjo and Anthony Ihrig. Today we're talking about digging into Anthony Ihrig's, at least for the first part of the show, Anthony Ihrig's 2011 release, Missing Ghosts. And I think a lot of folks who've just seen you with the High 48s might not know that you are such a prolific songwriter and play so many other instruments, because I usually get to see you play banjo, which, you're one of my favorite banjo players, certainly in Minnesota. So, but it's fun to get you to see you do your singer-songwriter thing, for sure. By the way, hi, Dave, listening. He says he's bouncing back and forth between Matt French's live stream. That's awesome. And also this will be available later too. So if you have to step out, you can always check it out later online as well on our Facebook page. So that was Missing Ghosts, and that's the first track on the record and the title track, and it kind of sets the stage for the album. But you kind of have a bunch of different styles that you go through on this record.
This album was also a bit of I needed a place to put songs I was writing that didn't fit into the traditional bluegrass genre that the High 48s were focusing on at that time, especially just more traditional bluegrass stuff. And I had played for about 10 years in the Twin Cities with a band called Free Range Pickin', which is
I used to see you at Delano's.
Delano. So anybody out there, you can let us know in the comments if you remember Delano's Pizza. It was it was kind of the mecca of bluegrass music here in the Twin Cities. But Free Range Pickin' was definitely not trying to be traditional. We were what you'd call a newgrass band, and there's a lot more of that stuff now. But at the time, there wasn't a lot in town, and I would write for that band, and I had these songs in my pocket that I wanted to put somewhere, so I had these instrumentals in particular that really just wouldn't work at the time with the High 48s, which is funny because the next song we're going to do, actually, I just recorded on a live album with the High 48s.
That's awesome. Kurt says he misses Delano's. Yes, we understand.
Hey, Kurt.
Well, let's hear this tune, Over the Clover, right? Is what we're going to do next. And this is kind of an interesting way that you recorded this song. Do you want to talk a little bit about it now?
Yeah. Actually, this is it. I was experimenting with things. I went back into my files to find my original kind of songwriting documents for this song. And it turns out the seeds of this song started in 2006. So this is back when I just started with the High 48s, but was still playing with Free Range Pickin'. And I was playing around with a banjo pickup plugged into a looper pedal of all things. And if you're interested, I actually found the original loop of this song.
Oh, cool. Do you want to... Do you want to play it right now, or do
Yeah,
you
I
want to
thought
do
that
it?
would be
Okay.
I thought it'd be kind of fun to hear how it started. If you guys are interested, I don't know if
Yeah.
anyone else.
Well,
cares
I'm
about it, but-
interested because I'm a banjo geek. So
yeah,
I think...
so basically this is me. Unfortunately, I didn't get me layering the loops, but it started out with like me playing some drums on the head, and then basically this chord progression is what I was looping, and then I tried playing. So I'll just play a snippet of the original idea. By the way, folks at home, this is the meta portion of the first episode. This is the kind of thing I would love for bands to do, to kind of dig in, find their old, notebooks with their poetry and their original demo recordings, and share some of that stuff, because that's the stuff I geek out about. I love liner notes, things like that, and I miss it. And I hope this can be a place where we can delve into that stuff. So anyways, I'm going to play just the original idea that started here for Over the Clover back in 2006. Jello harmonics.
Nice.
You can hear me playing the drums on it.
Yeah.
All right, I think folks maybe kind of get a feel for it. And I thought that
so
would
again, for folks who don't know, he's basically just recording himself several times over each other.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool. So that was the inspiration for this next tune that's on the 2011 release, Missing Ghosts.
Yep.
It's called Over the Clover.
Yep. And this will be Over the Clover. This is the production version, folks.
All right. Anthony Ihrig's tune Over the Clover. I know you have to like take a deep breath, even though you weren't actually playing, neither of us were playing. It kind of feels that way, it's just such a great drive to that tune,
Man, we played it really fast. That's a lot faster than I've currently played it with the 48s, but it was fun. I actually haven't sat and listened to this. I love this format. I love being able to do that. And man, Jed German on the mandolin, Eric on the fiddle, those dudes can pick.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what a treat it is to hear something that I did that with that. They just make it sound so good. So shout out to Jed and Eric, wherever they are.
Yes, indeed. And also a shout out to Christine, who said that she couldn't stick around, but she said she was really enjoying it, and she said that she's hoping that this will actually prompt more collaborations, people being thousands of miles apart and coming together, which I think is so true. That's what we want to accomplish with the back catalog listening parties, to bring people together, enjoying music and talking about it. Anne also said, I love this album, great cover to cover. And she said, including the cover art, which makes me, maybe we should put that back on the screen and
Sure.
if we can. And then we can maybe you could talk a little bit about who did the cover art and what inspired it, because it is really beautiful artwork.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So yeah, this let me get that up on my screen here. Let's see here.
And hi, Maria. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. I'm going to share this here. So, okay, just one second, folks. I'll find it here.
And we should say that this album is available for purchase on Anthony Ihrigg's website, anthonyihrig.com.
That's right. And even though we're not soliciting necessarily for ourselves right now,
but if people want to hear it, in its entirety, yeah.
But I wanted people to know the Bandcamp. If this is just a bit of a PSA for all bands, there's a platform called Bandcamp where people put their albums, including mine, and Ellen's as well. And it's a great service. They're waiving all their fees today only. So if you want to support your favorite artist, today is a great day to go to bandcamp.com, search for your favorite artist, and just buy the record outright. Even if you use streaming services and things like that, it would be like a wonderful donation.
It's basically a donation. Yeah. So
so the album art, I'll give you a brief little story about that. So I also am a huge fan of this artist. What happened was, I'll give you the kind of the short story. Is I was scrolling around on Twitter one day, and saw this picture here, which I thought was just the coolest,
beautiful,
kind of bluegrass inspired, surreal painting I'd ever seen. This is like the most unique, coolest thing. And at the time, I didn't see a lot of bluegrass related things like this. And here he was playing a mandolin. So I looked up who the artist was, and it's an artist named Tim Lee, out of North Carolina. And he, at the time he was working a day job, like at a newspaper doing illustration and stuff. Now it's his full-time gig doing art. And he also runs a really, really cool studio called Oddco. It's like an art space and a music space. Anyways, I reached out to him at the time and said, listen, I'm doing my first solo album. I would love for you to do something related to the theme of my album. And he agreed to do it. So I sent him the lyrics to Missing Ghosts. And it was really a fun process. He actually just hand sketched out his first sketch. I actually found, he hand sketched out this idea of a person standing in the woods with a guitar and the moon out. Like, this is super, super rough. But I was like, yes, I love the way you're going, but I'm from the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And could you make it more urban? So then he came back and said, well, what if we did person in the middle? We got the trees on one side. We got the cityscape on the other side. And that was the only other iteration. I said, all right, now just do your thing. And then he came back with this, which
so beautiful. It really is.
It really was one of my favorite things about the whole album was being able to work with him. And also just to have this piece. I have a big kind of framed version of it in my living room. And it's a good, it's a good reminder sometimes of the kind of work and effort you put into something like this. So
it's beautiful. And it also is a reminder, because often if you're listening to stuff online, as a lot of us do, you only get, a very tiny little, smaller than your thumb, really, thumbnail of the artwork. But it is worth, if you get the CD, or you just, look at it online and expand it, it's worth really spending some time with the art, because it's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I miss pulling out the liner notes of old LPs and reading those. And I don't know. So
Yeah, that's what this gathering every Friday at 4 is actually, is a back catalog listening party where we get to dig into the liner notes and beyond the liner notes, really, to talk with artists about their work. So hope you're enjoying it. Thanks for all the folks tuning in. We're probably not going to have time to hear the whole tune, but we're going to be hearing it every week as the intro and outro music. So maybe we can play at least a little bit of it. This is one of my favorite tunes from the album. And actually, Anthony, you said this was your favorite song as well. So I don't know if there's anything in particular you want to say about it. I mean, we're going to hear it, like I said, every week as the intro and outro of this back catalog listening party, but I thought maybe we could listen to a little bit of it at least.
Sure. So basically, even though I played banjo in a bluegrass band, my background is pretty much anything but that. And I started my life out as a drummer, and I love funky drum music. And I was a big fan of the Meters, the funky Meters.
Mm-hmm.
And they had this song called Sissy Strut, which, it's like just, it's got this great groove. It's got this super awesome, kind of driving drum rhythm that just kind of makes you do the chicken neck. It's just super groovy. And as a songwriter, almost always my favorite songs start with the rhythm in mind. And so I actually took the rhythm for Sissy Strut, this kind of iconic meter song, and thought, what if I did a banjo song that kind of followed that same groove? And this is what I came up with, and I call it Mississippi Strut, which is a mouthful, but I wanted to make sure that I was able to. I forgot we started. I'll pause it there just because I know we're running short on time, but you get the feel for it, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. In fact, I think you and I were both, and probably everyone out there listening, was bobbing our heads, at the same. It has such a good groove, really amazing groove. And actually, I was listening before we came on to do this. I was kind of revisiting some of these tunes for our conversation, and I was listening to this song. I think I heard it like 3 times on repeat because I was walking along Lake Nokomis with my baby son Stan, and and it was just such a good groove. Like I had a good tempo going, so I recommend it highly if you're trying to get outside and get a little exercise in this time of quarantine. It's a beautiful day in the Twin Cities, and this song makes a great soundtrack if you're walking.
You, thanks for letting me play that one. That's it really is my favorite tune. It kind of just checks all the boxes for me. But I kind of feel like we're reaching the kind of midpoint of the show, and I feel like it's time to switch gears and dive into some other banjo music. But first, I just want to cheers once more to all those people. There's still a few people hanging out here. Yep. Thank you guys so much for being with us. This is a crazy time in the world, a crazy time for everybody, and it just feels good to be together. So thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and we're going to be doing this every Friday at 4, talking about a different digging into a different release every week. So with different guest artists. And if you like what you hear, again, we're not soliciting donations for ourselves today, but we would love it if you donate to our cause today, which is Springboard for the Arts has an artist emergency relief fund to support Minnesota artists who've lost work as a result of canceled gigs and other performances. So again, the URL is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. You can check it out. Also, I know Anne shared the direct link as well in the comments. So Definitely donate if you can, but I know times are tough. We're all just doing the best we can. So we get it. But again, thanks for listening to the Back Catalog Listening Party. We're really excited on this maiden voyage to be here with you. And mainly, Anthony and I were talking about this when we were sort of brainstorming this idea. It was really Anthony's idea, was that I think we just miss hanging out together.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
It didn't take long before
No.
I was like, wait a minute, I need to hang out and listen to music with people.
Right. So, and actually, we don't do enough of that even pre-quarantine. I feel like you get to enjoy some live music when you're out playing, especially if you're a musician, you're playing shows. But I actually don't take enough time to just listen to full records anymore. So this has been really fun. So we're going to, I guess, dig into my most recent record.
Let's do it. It's a wonderful record. I'm just going to say that off the top. It's been fun revisiting that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, there's I have a stack of CDs, actual CDs that I have from. I always make a point to buy CDs from my favorite bands and especially from my friends, local artists, and things like that. But I don't get to revisit them very often. So this was super fun. And again, another thing I hope we get to do for a lot of bands around here. So Eyes on the Sky. It's technically back catalog. It was 2019.
It doesn't really feel like it because it came out last year. But I also had a baby last year. So, and I moved and, I had job changes. So it seems like there's so many other things that happened in my life since this album was released that it feels like a really long time ago, even though it's probably not even been a year since it's been released nationally. So,
but, and I don't know about you, but as an artist, oftentimes, you put the record out and it took so much that you just don't even want to think about it. And then you just move forward to the next thing and you're on to the next thing after you do your initial promotion. But dang it.
Yeah.
This is the time let's step back and revisit Eyes on the Sky. It's a great album. One of the things I love about it the most is the production. And I love the sense of space. I love we were talking earlier about this when instruments can, especially acoustic instruments, can meld in the air and be captured. That there's something different about it. A lot of jazz recordings are like that, and the kind of recordings that move me more than anything. Can you talk a little bit about how this album came about?
Yeah, this album is interesting because actually our previous record was made at Wild Sound, where you recorded Missing Ghosts. And that was a band record, and we recorded everything live, but isolated. So again, we could, either, work on tracks if we needed to. And that was a great experience. But for this album, which was, I recorded just under the name Mother Banjo, not Mother Banjo Band. And that was really because originally I was thinking of it as a band record. And although the band plays on it, if you listen to the record, you'll see that every track is pretty different in terms of the personnel. It's the same group of people, but there's some that are just like solo. There's at least a couple tracks that are just me, or pretty spare. And then there's a couple that are duo, like with my husband, Ben Cookfelt's playing piano and singing. There's some full kind of more rock band with drums and so a 6-piece band. And then there's at least one track that's legitimately bluegrass for you bluegrass fans out there, which was the 4-piece that we use when we play the Minnesota Bluegrass and Old Time Music Festivals events. We play with that 4-piece. So we have something that kind of reflects all the different ways that I perform, which was also really fun because I feel like these are all facets of my music and how I like to play. So we got to capture all that. But what was neat is we wanted that live feeling. But I also felt like I wanted a really organic feeling and that sense of space that you were talking about. We recorded everything live in the Sheldon Theater in Red Wing, which is this beautiful old historic theater in Red Wing, Minnesota. And we not in front of an audience. We just got the run of the place. Yeah, there's a great photo of us. We set up a studio on the stage. And this theater is great. There's all these kind of ghosts. Speaking of ghosts, Tony, I love capturing those kind of ghostly vibes. And what was cool about how we recorded, as you can see in this picture, we actually just all recorded in a circle. So we basically recorded how we practice and how we play. I've been playing with these guys for, with the exception of maybe Joel Olson, who joined us for drums and joined the band for this record, but had played with us a couple times. But the rest of the band, we've been playing together for almost 10 years. So, or 7 years, 8 years. So, we don't practice a lot except when we're working on material. We just kind of play shows. So this is how we play together the best, is live. And so we captured that. And the folks who recorded it, Jeff Oler and Sue Bibeau, they run a production company in Saranac Lake, New York, right near the Canadian border, called Beehive Productions. And I got to know them through a few different projects, but they do great video work for folkalley.com, and they've done stuff for NPR Music and for some other festivals. And they do video and audio. And Jeff specializes in remote studios. So he'll set up a studio in a family cabin or, an old barn, or in this case, I just knew I wanted to work with them because they love working with roots and acoustic bands. So they really get the idea of the organic feel, but also has a precision ear. So he doesn't want to have anything. He wants to capture the authentic sound and vibe and not ruin that by, playing to a click track, but also, he wants everything to sound as good as it can, so he was able to edit this stuff that we all tracked live without isolation. And he was even able to edit some of those parts in a way that I don't know how he did it. But yeah, but it was so much fun to record because it was just 2.5 days, I guess, just playing music.
That's
it was
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can tell there's that kind of live band in a room feel,
but you're right, there's a lot of space, and that's the acoustics of the room, really. So
yeah, and there's something almost a little different about it without the bodies in the room too. I think
for sure.
Yeah.
And then we also captured some video. So if folks are interested in that, Sue does all the video work from this production team. And so there's 2 videos that were recorded during the sessions that you can see actually on the Mother Banjo website, motherbanjo.com. You can check that out if you're interested. But yeah, it was a really fun way to record. And it's definitely my favorite record, not just because it's the most recent, but I think it captures, I also think my vocal performance is the best on recording that I've ever done. Because I feel like sometimes I'm used to singing in front of audiences, and I think that's often where I'm best. But this recording did the best job yet, anyway, of capturing how I sing, I think, in a bigger way.
Yeah, I love the way your voice sounds on all the tracks, and like you mentioned, each track has this slightly different vibe, which it's great because it keeps it very interesting. But there is this kind of Mother Banjo thread throughout all the tunes,
which would be, I don't know what the thread is, except for definitely obviously the storytelling element, but also I think vocals are really key, not just my vocals, but Dan Gorder and Ben Cookfelt's, their harmony vocals. And I think the other thing is the groove, which you're probably going to hear on this first song we're going to listen to.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about this song. This is a really, really cool tune. It's got that, it's got a catchy refrain, but man, it ain't happy.
It is not. This is a classic Mother Banjo song in that way.
And I love, and it's got a little juxtaposition with the title even. So talk a little bit about this.
Yeah, so this song I actually wrote, it was an assignment song. I wrote it for this Rift magazine, local magazine here in Minnesota. I used to do a 36-hour songwriting contest. And so where participants are given the theme, and then you have 36 hours to write the song and perform it live. And this time it was at the Warming House in Minneapolis. And so the theme was money. And so this was a song I wrote. And really I was just kept singing the word money, and, you're coming up with words that rhyme with money. And, and of course I was going to write a kind of more happy song about almost like a 1920s, right? I'm living in the money, high times, and, but apparently I couldn't channel that being a banjo player. So, this is the song that came out in classic Mother Banjo fashion. I often try and write a happy song, instead sad ones come out. I do have some happy songs on this record, but this is not one of them. And I was, let's just listen to it. And
I can't wait to listen to it with all of you guys. So let's all put our headphones on and enjoy Sunny from Mother Banjo.
So hey, Sunny, honey,
When you've got money, honey, it's always sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the honey flows down in streams. It's always sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the green just grows off of trees. Sunny when there's money, but when there's none, it's dark and so cold. You're young but feel old. Yourself you don't know at all. Remember when it was sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the honey flows down in streams. It's always sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the green just grows off of trees. Sunny when there's money, but when there's none. Feel sick in my soul, how my family fell low. I really don't know at all. Remember when it was sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the honey flows down in streams. It's always sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the green just grows off of trees. Sunny when there's money, but when there's none. I lost my third child. I'm dead to inside. Don't want to survive at all. Remember when it was sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the honey flows down in streams. It's always sunny, oh, when there's money, oh, when the green just grows off of trees. Sunny when there's money, but when there's none. You can hardly see all the birds and bees, all the air we breathe, all the love that's free. How you needed me to be sunny, to be sunny, to be sunny, to be sunny when there's money.
Wow. That's a great tune, Ellen.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
so one thing that I was reminded, I haven't listened to the song in a little while here, in its entirety. And it's not one we do it live, but I haven't done it live as much recently because we haven't had as many full band shows lately. Just because I've just been getting back into performing after having the baby, so I've been doing a lot more smaller, duo or trio shows. But that song, really, every band member has like their moment in that song. But in particular, I was noticing Jim Parker's mandolin, especially at the end there, just hitting all those right notes sounds real, real sweet. So I should mention who else plays on the record. So
yeah.
and on that song, it's pretty much the core band. So it's obviously me on banjo and vocals, and then Jim Parker on mandolin, Dan Gorder on guitar, and he also sings. He didn't sing on that track, but he does sing, plays electric and acoustic with the band. Ben Cookfelt's on piano, and also sometimes electric keyboard, and sometimes occasional percussion as well. And then Eric Paulson on bass, and then Joe Olson on drums. So that was the whole cast.
Yeah, and you're right. Each instrument really stands out. I
Mhm.
think one of the things I love about this song and this record is that there is so much space.
Mhm.
And as a musician, one thing I'd love to ask you about is also not only is there space around the instruments, but there's space around the notes. And
Mhm.
there's space that it gives a place for the tempo to kind of expand and contract.
Mhm.
And it provides a different kind of emotional feel. And I'm
Yeah.
just curious about like that's tricky to be able to kind of change the tempo as like another kind of axis in real
Right.
time. And do you maintain eye contact with your bandmates? Have you just played the song so often that you just kind of have the feel? Are they looking to you to kind of lead that? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, to your first question about the space, I think that's always what has attracted me to the banjo in particular, because as you know, it's a staccato instrument. So you're either playing or you're not, which for many banjo players, that means you're playing a lot of a lot of different notes, like
Yeah.
in those big bluegrass, riffs. You're getting a lot of fast notes, and the whole reason for that is because they don't really ring out very long. So,
Right.
and that is really, and so that sound really makes sense, especially in a bluegrass context. But I also really love the old timey Appalachian stuff, the really sad stuff, and a lot of that is done on banjo and fiddle, and is pretty spare. So I've always been attracted to that sound, and I've always liked a minimalist vibe, and I'm very lyric driven. So I kind of liked when I just started writing songs on the banjo. One thing I liked about it was that, especially because my chord knowledge was very limited when I started writing on the banjo, so it was kind of actually nice to just focus in on the lyrics and the melody, because that's all you really need for a good song, and then everything else can be fleshed out later. But I liked the interplay of voice and banjo. So when I started playing out, it was just me. So it was like, how do you do it and be interesting and mix up the sounds? That's why I started playing in sort of kind of non-traditional ways
Yeah, I
on the
noticed there's a
instrument.
lot of percussion
Mhm.
that you have like your own kind of mother
Yeah.
banjo
Mojo
percussive
style. Yeah.
mojo style. Can you talk to about that at all?
Sure. It's kind of inspired by old time like clawhammer style, because it's all downstroke,
Yeah.
and percussive. But I play with picks, so I sometimes will play a very slowed down 3-finger style, or Doc Watson 2-finger style, to get that picking sound. But when I'm doing that more percussive sound, I'm basically doing all downstroke with my thumb pick.
Okay.
And then sometimes playing that extra the 5th string or some other notes in between, but I'm playing on the backbeat, and then I'm hitting the head of the banjo. So
Yeah, I could
you
hear
get that thud, which is why this is actually the first recording where I had drums so prominently featured, because often I'm kind of the drummer in the band.
Right.
But as you notice, the time does change in these bands, which is why we liked
Yeah.
recording in this way. Actually, the last 2 records were done without, click tracks or any of that, because we found that for the band, we've been playing together so long that although they're definitely looking to me for cues, it's really almost like a feeling. So really, when I'm like right now, I'm in the process of looking for some new bass players to rotate in, and the real thing is not finding a great bass player. There's plenty of them around, but finding someone who can just feel the groove. I can't really say it any better than that. It's just like a feeling, and everyone else in the band really just gets the vibe and the groove, and that's kind of how we roll. So but yeah, other than just doing it by feel, that's kind of how we make it happen.
Oh, well, it sounds great.
Thank you.
I really love that sound. And I would say of all the songs on the record, there's one in particular that still gets in my head, even if I haven't listened to the album in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, it has this melody that just I can't get out of my head. It's super beautiful, and it's just a wonderful tune. It's a tune called Water.
Oh yeah.
And I was hoping we could talk about that a little bit. Maybe play it first, talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds great. Why don't we listen to it? This song was written on a hot day in Minnesota. I was thinking about jumping into the closest pool of water.
All right, let's take a listen to that one.
Water, water, sweet running stream. Water, water, see you in my dreams. Ringata from the heat, rambling around, walking the streets from farm to town, and in between I looked for her, she waited for me. Water, water, sweet running stream. Water, water, see you in my dreams. She was just 16 and wondered why the stars came out and wells run dry. She ventured out to meet the sky, turned on her heels, left me to cry. Water, sweet running stream. Water, water, see you in my dreams. Found her at the riverbed, cuts on her hands and dust on her head. I love her now like I loved her then, singing a song, pulling me into water. Water, sweet running stream. Water, water, see you in my dreams. See you in my dreams.
Ooh, so good.
So sad.
I know, but it's, there's this kind of subgenre
Mhm.
of songs being played right now during this time called soothing, calming songs, and just that melody and just the
Mhm.
thought of water in general.
Right.
It really is it's just what I needed to hear right now.
Oh, thank you, Tony. So that song, it's funny, when we were recording it, there was a lot of jokes, that refrain, water, water, that we realized that it really doesn't work with any other beverage. So if you're trying to go beer, beer, if you're maybe enjoying a cold one with us as part of the back catalog listening party, you have to remember to hydrate as you go. So,
Yes.
and I want to apologize. I know the audio cut out for a moment or two, but hey, then we found out some other folks were listening. So hi, Alicia, and I'm glad you stuck with us.
Thank you.
And again, this is our maiden voyage, so we're learning a few things as we go. But yeah, that song, I wrote on a hot day. And really it just was that refrain, water, water. But I had been listening to Goodnight Irene. So I think I was kind of thinking a little bit of that, that's why I'll see you in my dreams. But
Yeah,
I was kind of thinking of the Irene character and what was she like? Because in that song, you really just get the male lover's perspective, or would-be lover, the hopeful
Right.
lover.
Yeah.
And so I was just sort of thinking, like, what's up with Irene? What's her deal? So that's kind of what inspired the song.
Oh, that's awesome. See, that's the kind of insight liner note stuff that you don't get on Spotify, folks.
That's right.
I love that. I love that. And I think actually that also answers, and like Goodnight Irene has this almost lullaby kind of
Yeah.
feel to it, and this song does too, but not in a put you to sleep kind of way, but more
No.
in a
End
put
of the
you in a
night
nice,
kind of way.
calm. Yeah, just get you in the right place, and that was perfect way to end my week.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because actually Goodnight Irene itself, if you like listen to the lyrics, it's also equally sad and kind of, has like, well, a potential death, I'll drown myself in the river. And this one, she actually does. But, I think there's those two sides to all these old folk and blues songs of like, the kind of sweet love in there, but then the really dark, dark
That's
side.
the whole bluegrass genre is based
Exactly.
around this. We have a whole subgenre we
These
call the
songs
bluegrass
about sad
love
things.
song.
Yeah.
Which is like, someone's in prison, someone
Yep.
might be killed. There's
Yeah.
always these terrible things happening, but the beat is so good. And I think that's another thing about music, though, is that it's like one of the few modes of communication that can speak to you on multiple levels. And I don't mean that I really believe that like you can feel music in one way, process the lyrics cerebrally in another way, and those can be completely different. And there actually is something kind of cathartic, at least for me, when those two things are a little different like that, 'Cause sometimes like right now, things aren't really great. So hearing a happy song is not necessarily going to resonate with me intellectually. So having those lyrics kind of with that nice, calming melody, perfect. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, and that's sort of one of the themes of the Eyes on the Sky record that we've been hearing tracks from today. Is really I recorded it. I released it right before I had my baby. I recorded it before that, but there's there are actually some very sweet love songs on it because I hadn't put out a record since I was married, and so like there's some love songs on there. Thinking about having a baby, but also that there's all this craziness in the world right now. And even before the coronavirus, there was a lot of division and, kind of weird vibes in the universe. And so I felt like trying to keep your
distancing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now we have physical distancing as well. But I do feel like Eyes in the Sky was really about sort of keeping your eyes on the bigger picture and thinking about, what that means both internally for myself as well as, living in our community and wanting to connect with each other. And so if there's a theme to the record, that's probably it. So
very timely.
So I guess that kind of gets to the end today. We're a little bit over. We're figuring this out, but thank you for tuning to the Back Catalog Listening Party.
Yes, folks, we can't tell you how much it means that you're hanging out with us. I think I need this, and I know that it's something that I would want to be a part of, just because I miss being able to kind of deep dive into music. And I've seen a few articles online. Ellen, you shared a great one from the LA Times about deep listening. But other people are kind of diving into art and music in ways they haven't in a really long time. Our lives are super fast paced and we kind of miss it. And this is just a great opportunity to kind of, I don't know,
slow down,
reconnect with that. And so, like we've said before, this is called the Back Catalog Listening Party. So this is all about appreciating that art, that's already been made, and giving another platform for artists to be able to kind of reshare that stuff. And our hope is that we'll have a bunch of your favorite artists on, and you'll have a chance to ask them the questions you've always wanted to ask them. They'll get to kind of revisit some of their favorite songs and be able to articulate, the stories behind it, kind of the live liner notes. And we really hope that this can be a place that us music lovers can hang out and just geek out about.
Yeah. And we should mention that next week, again, this is going to be every week at 4:00 Central Time, right here on Facebook, same place, Back Catalog Listening Party. And next week, our guests will be the Rowe family singers. So Kim and Quillen Rowe. We're going to talk with them about some of their original songs, and they've written some of my favorites. So I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be next week at 4.
Our first guests, and I can't wait to they have a huge catalog, so I can't wait to hear what album they pick and to start diving into those songs. And this is definitely one both Ellen and I were thinking about. But now it's your turn. We really want to hear from you. We want to know what bands do you think could use a platform? Maybe they don't have the capability to do a full live streaming concert because half the band is in different places, but one or two of them could hop on with us.
And they can do it from their phone or whatever. So
so
they don't have the big technology needed. So
no, this is actually it's very low barrier. And we would love to hear from those of you that are hanging out with us now, and anybody who's watching the rebroadcast as well. In the comments, if you wouldn't mind, nominate a band. Just maybe tag them even in Facebook language, so that they see it too. We'd love to hear who you'd be interested in hearing from.
Yeah. And I also want to give a shout out to Lindell, listening in St. Paul. Thank you. I got a text from her. So again, thanks to all for listening. And Anthony, thank you so much for coming up with this idea and inviting me to be a part of it. I'm looking forward to hosting a lot more of these in future weeks.
Ellen, I'm so glad that you're willing to do this. This idea started last Friday, so here we are a week later, and we're online.
And also, big shout out to our spouses taking care of our kids while we do this. So
yes,
thanks
Sarah.
to them. Thanks, Ben. And again, thank you guys all for joining us from all different parts of the country. Cheers and
cheers.
Hang in there, guys.
Yep, and we hope to see you next week.
Take care.
Take care.